In the Amazon FBA space, there's a hot topic debate. Are you team return on investment or are you team profit margin? And I'm here to tell you, I like both of them. I don't want to have to choose, and I don't think you should either. They're both incredibly valuable metrics in their own right and can help you run a healthy and successful Amazon business. And so, what I want to do is side by side compare both of them in three different categories. For one, we're going to break down their formula just to make sure everybody understands the math and the metrics behind it. For two, I'm going to share what is that number actually relaying? Like, how can we practically understand what it's measuring and how can we relate it to real life when you're selling on Amazon? And lastly, I'm going to tell you what I really like about both of them. Because, like I said, I think they both provide tremendous value. So, first up, let's go side by side and talk about the different formulas. Okay. And we're going to tweak this a little to be relevant to Amazon. So, first up, return on investment. You're going to have profit divided by your investment. And by the way, you can use cost of goods instead of the term investment, same thing. And then you times that by 100 to get the percentage return on investment. So, for instance, if you buy something for $10 and you make $5 profit, you're going to take $5 profit, you divide it by the $10 investment, aka the cost of goods, that equals zero point 0.5. You multiply it by 100, now you have a 50% return on investment. Simple enough. The formula for profit margin is going to be profit divided by sales times 100. So let's say you sell something for $20. You made $5 profit on it after everything's said and done. You're going to take your $5 profit, you divide it by the 20, the total sale cost, and that equals 0.25. You multiply that by 100, now you have a 25% profit margin. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first and foremost. I see them used incorrectly or interchangeably, especially by some beginners. No shame in that whatsoever. I know it took me a little bit to figure out exactly what the difference was, especially if you've never been in retail or run your own business for any reason. No shame in that. So that's the difference as far as formulas go. But now let's break down just in wording, like what are they really measuring? Or at least how do I break down in terms of Amazon world? What are they helping me with? And so first up, let's talk about return on investment. Okay. The best way I can describe it is that I think it's helping you determine the quality of your purchase at the time of purchase. Okay. So for instance, just to give you inflated numbers to really drive the point home, if you spent $500 on a good to make $20 profit, you're risking a lot to make very little, right? And so that would be a horrible return on investment. Okay. So on the flip side, if you spent $20 on a product and you see the ROI is 200%, so it's going to make you $40 profit, that lets you know this is incredible. Okay. And just to let you know, in Amazon, online arbitrage, typical numbers like 30% return on investment is what people strive for. As far as retail arbitrage, I used to do that. I was striving for like 100% return on investment. Spend a dollar, make a dollar profit for every dollar I spent. So, what it's helping me do is just understand the quality of my purchase relative to how much I'm spending on it. Okay. And I kind of like it, and I'll get more into this because it just helps you decide at the time. As long as you know that number, most things will fall into place as far as profit margin and your overall profit as a whole. But we'll get to that. Now, as far as profit margin goes, you don't get that feedback until you've bought the product, you've sent it in, it's sold, and then all of your expenses are taken out and calculated, and that's the percentage you're left with. And the way that I see it, I mean, obviously it's a number, it's gauging your health of your business. I shouldn't say anything's obvious, by the way. It's gauging the health of your business as a whole, big picture, because it kind of mashes all of the purchases together, whether it be on a monthly or a yearly basis, right? And it really kind of lets you know, despite what I think I was buying or what quality I was buying at the time of purchase, where ROI is concerned, profit margins, what really happens, like price tankers happen, or maybe price went up because of supply and demand, goes both ways. But it really is something that is, in a nutshell, measuring your total profit relative to your sales, not relative to your investment. Okay. So it doesn't matter how much you spend or how little you spend, it's measuring the profit relative to your total sales. All right, so now let's talk about what I like about both of them because they both are very valuable in their own right, as we've already talked about. So, return on investment. What I really, really enjoy about this is that it's feedback that is provided right away at the time of purchase. Okay. So when I'm buying something, I'm looking at Keepa, I'm going over my other data points, everything looks good, right? If I just stick to the script in theory and I say, hey, I am not buying anything that doesn't give me at least 30% profit, or excuse me, return on investment, that doesn't give me at least 30% return on investment, then I know if my spend budget is this, my profit on these items should also be this. Meaning, if I spend $40,000 a month on inventory and I require at least 30% return on investment, then that means, in theory, when all of this stuff sells, I should make $12,000 profit on that $40,000 spend. Okay. And so if you do that at scale long enough, it's kind of just like a trickle down effect. And for me, I've bought and sold things ranging from so many things: IKEA furniture, homes, Amazon. One thing remains the same 99% of the time. And I don't say 100 because things can happen that are always exceptions to the rule. The deal is made at the time of purchase, not at the time of sale. Okay. You do your data, you project what it's going to sell for, and you stick to the script, and everything else just kind of trickles down and falls into place. Okay. So I like that a lot. It gives you that feedback right away at the time of purchase. If you follow the script, you kind of know where your numbers will fall down the road whenever they sell. Now, using profit margin, that is a delayed feedback. You don't get that until sales occur, right? And then once you do this for a while, you have a big enough sample size to get like an average monthly profit margin that you can work with. And what that lets me know is relative to the amount of sales, how much am I actually making? And let's say that for many months, you've been hitting 15%, which is a very realistic OA number. And this month you did 10. And then next month you do 11 and then 9. And you're like, I keep doing 30% return on investment requirement and my profit margin keeps dwindling. Something is happening in between. Maybe you're not reading the charts correctly. Maybe supply and demand. Maybe there's price tankers, whatever the case may be. But also, maybe it's a good indicator to say, hey, I have to increase the quality of my buys if it's important to me to be at 15% profit margin. So now you can go back and say, now I'm going to require a 40% return on investment percentage, and that will naturally trickle down and increase your profit margin as well. Okay. It's not a perfect science, but just kind of understanding both numbers and how they can be used together to really help run a nice business. All right. Something else I really like about profit margin is that once you do this long enough, you kind of get a pretty steady idea and you can get an average monthly profit margin. And once you have that number, now you can kind of reverse engineer what you have to do in order to achieve profit goals, and what you have to do in sales to achieve those profit goals, and what you have to do to spend in order to achieve those sales in order to reach your profit goals. So what I mean by that, and I've made a video on this, is that let's just, for a round number, since I'm doing this top ahead, let's say your profit margin has averaged 20% a month, okay? And your goal is to make $10,000 profit a month. Well, that means you'd have to do $50,000 a month in sales, okay? Because now you know what your typical profit margin is. So now you can just work backwards. So now the next question would be, well, how much do I have to spend in order to achieve those $50,000 in sales? And there's ways that you can calculate that. And again, I've made a video on this, but the point is this: if you have the profit margin, you can reverse engineer everything in order to achieve your profit goals. And so, as you can see, both return on investment and profit margin are valuable in their own right. There's no need to go one team or the other team. Use them both. Metrics are important. You have to know your numbers. You have to know your business. And this is a business. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm Jonathan. Duke does Amazon. Questions, comments, topics, put them below. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.